first moved onto the property, when we purchased it, we saw it had a lot of outbuildings, but we knew we wanted to get chickens and we needed something to either convert into a coop or build a coop. And we had this, like either a stall or a shed of some kind, and we went in there. My friend Ian came up from Florida. He had just redone his grandfather's chicken coop, and he said, hey, I got some things we can try on yours. So we took all the shelves that were in there, put fronts on those, turned those all into nesting boxes. We've added roosting poles all the way around so they can get up. Chickens as high as they want to go, they're happy. All the doors and the flaps and all the ventilation is all armored with hardware cloth. So, you know, your coons and mink and all that stuff are not going to get in there. Even though I tell you what, the regular chicken wire like that, you've got to be careful of. I've seen coons big enough that they can get hold of that and rip a hole in it, or at least reach where they can get their arm in there and get hold of the chicken. But the lower doors already had the lattice work on the inside of them, and so we just added the hardware cloth to them. We added it to the inside of these, and we still got this winterized with visqueen, which will come off this coming week. I had to put rubber mats down here. The possums figured they could dig underneath the gates, so I've got some heavy mats and buried them down there, and that stopped that, because all of a sudden I was getting eggs eaten like mad. But when we got our first chickens, we bought 10 layers, and they threw in a rooster, because they had an old rooster getting, he was a young one, but he was like the one getting beat up by everybody else, so we took him. And we held them in here for about a week, fed them and watered them, and come in here and visit with them, because they were nice. They were raised by a family that had a lot of kids, and the kids took care of the chickens, so they handled them, and they were a pretty nice bunch of chickens. Of course, a lot of Rhode Island Reds, so they, you know how they a little fussy sometimes. But after that week, we'd open it up, and they knew this was their home, and we free ranged them, and just would keep an eye on them. And then that's when your predator problems start. We had problems with hawks. We had problems with mostly dogs, not so much coyotes. The coyotes, there's a lot of fences between us and the neighbors. That cuts down a lot on that. But the raccoons, possums, so the neighbors, they had problems with minks getting in there, killing their chickens. So we tried to make it as safe as we could to keep all them out. And that's when we also, to give it an extra layer of security, we put up a welded wire fence with fence stays. And from the top of the fence stays, we ran monofilament line, 50-pound test, up to the front of the coop. That's to deter the hawks from flying in here and catching the chickens right in their yard. Because I've had them kill them right there. The chicken might make it to the gate and get killed right there because the hawk will still swoop in and get them. But it's cut down on, you know, aerial predation. And the coons, we pretty much have got them under control. And the dogs, you know, that's something that comes and goes. People out, you know, it's in the country, they just think they can just drop their dogs off and let them die. And of course, when they show up here, they're starving to death. So the first thing they want to do is eat your chickens. But we added this little lean-to on here. We raised meat chickens in it, and I've got it where I can take the tin off the sides in the wintertime. And if we get a...
Summertime.
Yeah, in the summertime. And if we get a bird that's injured or anything and we need to have a place to keep him out of the flock so he doesn't get hurt any worse, we'll hold them up in there until they're better before we turn them back in. Yeah, it's just, you want to try to keep your chickens as safe as you can at night. And at daytime, when you free range them, you're taking a chance. But, you know, we're always outside. I mean, if Carmen and I aren't in the garden, we're out splitting firewood, or cutting firewood, or mowing grass, or weed eating, or working on some project around. So, you know, you can kind of keep an eye on them, and you listen for ones if anybody's hollering in distress, or you kind of get used to what the sounds are. except we've got some guineas now. So between chickens and guineas and roosters, we've got about 34 birds. And those guineas, they alarm at everything. But it's still, I like listening to them.
What's your routine in the morning?
Oh, the routine in the morning says when I get down here, I let everybody out of the coop into the yard. They get fed. I put some scratch on the ground. I put some in a pan. And we still got some young ones that like eating out of a pan or a hanging feeder. So, and once I let them out, everybody runs out, and I'll take it and hand scatter that tore up bread. And I've got a thing I whistle to my birds. So while I'm feeding them, they're hearing that whistling, and I can be in the middle of the yard somewhere and start whistling, and my chickens will come running because they think I've got bread. But like if the neighbor calls and said a coyote just caught 2 of her chickens in the yard in the middle of the day, I can take a piece of paper and lead all my chickens right into my yard just whistling to them because they're thinking they're going to get a snack. But it helps keep them safe. And everybody thinks it's crazy, I know. But it's, you know, little tricks. You want your animals to be safe. Come on, bro. Come on, Giddy. Come on, Wilmer. Come on, big boy. Come here. Mornings, after I feed them, I leave them in here for about an hour. That way everybody gets to pick around. And then I'll open the gate, and it's a big race onto the property. Everybody goes tearing out there, finding the nearest bug, piece of cat food on the back porch, whatever they can find. And they spend their day roaming around, staying, you know, the weather gets bad, I'll hold them back all day if it's going to be a nasty rainy day. Or they'll just spend their day under the carport or under the porch. You know, this way, you know, during bad weather, they got a place to get something to eat. But, you know, they have the run of, we've got about probably 5 acres that's cleared. And, you know, you'll see different times they'll be all over the place. And I've got 2 roosters, and they're both pretty good husbands. And they keep a pretty good eye out for the girls. Like they see a buzzard fly over something, they'll let out an alarm squawk. Everybody runs to them and they head for the shade. Because they think, they know if they're under a tree, whatever that thing's flying can't get them. So, you know, think chickens aren't smart, but they figure things out. The buzzard is a hawk, because I've got enough older chickens that have been dived on and had the feathers knocked off of them, but they were too big to fly off with. So they know what, you know, they know what the something coming from the air is. But, and in the evenings, everybody will come down here towards the yard. I'll, like the middle of the day, I'll throw them out a can of scratch out in the yard, and they'll eat that. And then probably around 3 or 4 o'clock, everybody starts easing towards the chicken yard. And we got a bunch of tie-ties and stuff under the oak trees here, and they kind of bunch up down here. And they'll mess, Carmen will go in the garden and she'll throw them mushy strawberries and stuff like that. So they see her over there, they run over to visit with her. But once the sun starts going down, they know it's time to go to bed. And they'll go ahead, they just trickle on in here. And like I said, if you come down here at dark, most of the time everybody's gone to bed. I just go in there with a light and get a count. If there's a guinea or 2 missing, I know they're usually in the big oak tree right there behind there. But there's a couple of guineas that we acquired from somebody else. So they're still a little, you know, but the majority of the time they'll spend the night in the coop too. And like in the afternoons, when I go to feed everybody, I feed like the goats and our outside cats, and I scatter some corn for the deer, and I'll come around here and put some whole corn out for the chickens and give the rabbits some snack. But I collect my eggs then. All my birds lay during the day, and they're usually done by about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And sometimes they lay in the coop. They'll lay in the coop next door. Sometimes I'll find them on the back porch. Sometimes find them in the tool shed, you know. But it's interesting. It's an Easter egg hunt every day. But I mean, you got to keep an eye on them because whenever they lay an egg, you know they start telling everybody about it. So you can pretty much figure out where they're laying at. Unless you get that one crazy one that's broody and talks everybody into coming and laying their eggs in a bushes somewhere for about 4 days. Go in there and find 30 eggs, you know. But got to keep an eye out for stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, chickens are great to have. They're good company. If you're working on something out in the yard, I've got ones that'll come over and just hang out with you, you know, because they know Dad always has snacks. Let's see. Everybody wants some of Dad's snacks, huh? That's Goofy. Mama. Gilbert, what do you want? Trudy. Bird. What's up there, big boy? Oh, she's laid out. Goofy, get out of there.
Here, Wilbur. I didn't get it.
He said I did.
Wilbur. Good boy. Put it on her back.
Somebody will get it.
Hold still now. Ow, that was my finger.
Come on, big man. Come here. There you go. So you silly bird. They know they like snacks too. Right, big man? You doing that pretty good. You can give him a tiny piece. You want to let your girls have that one? Yeah. Nope. This is why you have nice roosters. Goofy. There you go. Henrietta.
Goofy snagged
Goofy
it.
is a mess. Boy, girl.
Henrietta's over here.
Where's she at?
Right here.
You goofy thing.
Sonny got it. Ooh.
You are some silly chicken. No, you can't have this. You know, if you're starting your homestead, that's probably, I've heard some people start with rabbits, but I'd start with chickens. Because like the thing, you know, I swear you get more out of them, more value between the eggs. And if you get ones that are broody, and you can keep the layers, the hens, and you can always eat the roosters. So you always have some source of food coming in with chickens, one way or the other. And they're not bad to take care of, you know. As long as you keep their place safe and keep them healthy, it makes a big difference. I have a big goofy rooster named Wilbur. Yeah, I'll shake your head. So, cracker on my boot. What, son? And most all of them have names, because about all of them have personalities, so. What's up, big boy? Yeah, we don't have any more snacks. No more snacks. clean my boot off for me. He says his old name, he shakes his old head. He's a good boy, huh? Yes, I is. Wash your hands. I mean, after you pick up eggs or handle any feed or anything that the chickens have been in, if you have to handle the chickens themselves, what's up, big boy? Wash your hands. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our little chicken video from Bear Grounds Homestead. If you like it, hit the like button, hit the bell, subscribe. We sure appreciate it. See y'all next week.